guys, what's up? So we have been very busy lately, and I figured we could do this video now. And don't worry, I'm hands-free and we're just talking. And I wanted to, the Lord told me, I told the Lord, I promised him this, that I would share with people that he was the one who gave us our home. And this is the year anniversary of our home that we bought. And I felt like we both needed to give our takes on our experience with it. With what God did for our lives back then. My husband was at the time, am I allowed to share that? Okay. And my husband at the time, I had to double check because, you know, you just can't be too cautious with sharing information. But he was deployed at the time. Everyone would look at that as, you bought a house while your husband was deployed? What in the world? Well, it was God's timing, and I can't say anything other than God decides the time whenever you're supposed to do things and not do things. And sometimes it looks chaotic, and sometimes it doesn't look like it should, and sometimes even the market may not be where it needs to be, and everything around you may say no, but God says yes. So I'm gonna let you take a little bit on this if you want to go ahead and spill yours. Otherwise, I'll talk the whole time, and I don't want to do that. So, do you want to share a little bit on your end?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go ahead and be in the middle lane and then wait. So yeah, I was deployed. I won't go into detail as to where I was, what I was doing, or anything like that. But I was away from my family. It was very challenging. Everything seemed like it should have just not worked out at all. It was as if, you know, all of the numbers were stacking up against us. Everything was saying, all clear indications were saying, this is not going to happen. We are not going to be able to afford this house. We're not going to be able to get out of the circumstances we were in at the time that we were in them, and that we were going to be stuck where we were. But God, he's got, his math is completely different than our math, and his way of doing things, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if we're crying out loud, we're talking about the creator of the universe that just spoke something into existence, and like that, there it was in existence. We're talking about the God of the universe who, when Moses held his staff over the water and struck it, the Red Sea parted ways. I mean, physics can't explain that. Science cannot explain that. Math cannot explain why or how God does what he does. But the only simple exception or explanation is it's to get honor and glory out of us to him. And it's not to bring him glory in the sense of like out of an arrogance. It's out of reverence. It's out of, you know, being thankful for who he is and what he's done for us. Now, there have been challenges that we've faced since then, but again, all numbers should have said no, we aren't able to buy the house. And it was interesting because we went from lender to lender, and we actually went back from one of the lenders to a different lender. Then they were both like, oh, sorry, this isn't going to happen. And it was like within days of Sarah signing the final paperwork, and then it ended up not working out, and we went back to one of the other lenders, and they were also like, hey, this isn't happening. I'm going to have to close it. And then Sarah tells me that she basically told our lender, do not close this yet.
Well, because when God says something, when he tells you something, you believe it. And I got to give a little backstory if it's okay with you. I got to have a backstory, okay? So, he told me to go look for houses, okay? And I was kind of like, I don't know if this is the right season or time. And he was like, I really feel like we're supposed to look for houses. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to step in faith, and I'm going to believe. Well, I went and looked at a lot of houses while he was gone. He would do like a video tour with me sometimes, but I was kind of like, these are not the house, not the house, not the house. Well, we finally found one house And I called my mom up. Okay, I call her up and I'm like, I need you to pray on this. I need you to get your intercessor group to pray on this. Well, the intercessors, she forgets to ask them during the entire prayer meeting. Like, she totally forgets. At the very end, one of the intercessors says to her, who's here about to buy a house? And she goes, my daughter, actually. Oh my goodness. Well, they say, this is what the Lord told them. They told her to tell me, God is in the house. He's in every step of this house. He wants you to buy this house. Well, when you hear a clear word from the Lord about that, it's like, okay, how can we not buy this house? Because if God's in it, then I'm definitely going to stand in everything that's happening here, because I want what God has for us. Well, like my husband said, everything was coming against us. People were telling us, no, this is not the right time. The housing market was insane, but we got this house, what our parents probably paid for, back in the 90s, and it was a blessing. And the house, we have land with it. It fits all of our family. It has room for all of our kids. They each have their own bedrooms, which is huge. We're a family of 6, and that's just, it's been such a blessing to see God's hand on everything. But yeah, no, when the lender on the phone, he was like, I'm going to have to shut this. I said, do not shut this, because I stood on the word that God told me that he was in this house, that he was going to do it. And this is our year anniversary of us buying that house. Today. And I had to get on here and share, because I told the Lord I would share. And I had prayed for so long that God would bless us with something that people, whenever he did bless it to us, that it would turn heads, that it would show his mighty hand on it, that people would be like, how? And that would only be but God, that it was only him that did it, that his hand would be so on it that it was only him. And that's all I can say, is that anyone out there who, you have a vision, you have a prayer, you're believing for something, stand on what God has told you. Stand on his truth, because he's not going to do you wrong. You've got to trust him. It may not look like butterflies and, sunflowers and, the whole time, but God can get you through it. It's not going to be easy, but he will do it.
Something to think about, and I've heard part of this from previous sermons, but again, God's math is not our math. He doesn't just do addition, he does multiplication. There's a reason why, and if anybody's heard it, as far as the example of the seed has to die to itself, be buried in the ground, and it's only once it is dead that God brings the produce and he brings it back to life. And just as an example, one seed has the potential for multiple fruit. That's not your simple 1 + 1 right there. That is multiplication, and that is what our God does. So be encouraged. Don't let anything that life is throwing your way discourage you from trusting. And I'm not saying this as if I've got it all perfect. Sarah can tell you, I am the first one to stress when it comes to the numbers. But God has shown faithful every single time, and I will, even in the hardest times when the enemy is trying to throw every single fiery dart our way, I will continue to hold up the shield of faith and believe in what it is that God has said, and trust that he's going to take care of us.
No matter what you're going through in life, trust that God can do it. He can do miraculous things. Our house is that testimony. God blessed us not only with land, but it's almost done. He blessed us not only with land, but he also blessed us with woods, and we have quiet up there, and it's such an awesome experience to see God's hand on things. Well, we're almost out of time, because we're on a timer thingy. So God bless, and have a great day, everybody.